Tokyo.
Bilingual Web Magazine. Dig Tokyo. Sports and Culture 8. On Tennis Racket Makers 4. Yonex. Made in Japan Excellence. 1. Prologue. In our series on leading tennis racket manufacturers, we've covered the American brand Wilson, the Dutch brand Head, and the French brand Babolat. This time I'm writing about the Japanese brand Yonex, which is known for its sponsorships of several young players on the rise. 2. Japanese Racket Maker Yonex. Yonex is a leading Japanese tennis racket manufacturer that is known for its sponsorships of players like Naomi Osaka. Yonex also makes quality rackets for soft tennis and badminton, as well as golf clubs. Footnote 1. Soft tennis is a racket game like tennis that is played using soft rubber balls instead of hard yellow ones. It is predominantly played in Japan and other Asian countries. In the 80s, Yonex provided rackets for Martina Navratilova. In the 90s, Monica Seles. In the aughts, Martina Hingis. In Japan, Yonex rackets were used by Date Kimiko. Footnote 2. Martina Navratilova is a Czechoslovak-born American retired professional tennis player. Along with her rival, Chris Evert, she led women's tennis throughout the 70s and 80s. She has won a total of 18 Grand Slam singles titles, and, among them, a record 9 Wimbledon titles. She was known for her skill at the net. Footnote 3. Monica Seles is a retired professional tennis player who represented Yugoslavia and the United States. She won 9 Grand Slam singles titles. She turned pro at the age of 15 in 1989 and won the French Open at 16 years and 6 months, the youngest ever French Open champion at the time. In 1991, she became the world number 1 at 17 years and 3 months, also the youngest ever at the time. In 1993, at what was then known as the Citizen Cup in Hamburg, Germany, an obsessed fan of Steffi Graf, Seles' greatest rival, ran onto the court during a break between games and stabbed Seles, which sent shockwaves through the tennis world. Seles did not return to tennis for over 2 years. She is known for playing two-handed off both sides. Footnote 4. Martina Hingis is a retired Swiss professional tennis player. Her mother named her after tennis icon Martina Navratilova. She was known as a child prodigy, winning the Australian Open at the age of 16 years and 3 months, and attaining the world number 1 ranking at 16 years and 6 months, breaking Monica Seles' world records. Footnote 5. Date Kimiko is a retired professional tennis player from Kyoto. She was the first player from Asia to break the top 10 in the women's rankings, and is the first Japanese women's player to enter the final 8 at each of the 4 Grand Slams. She was known for her ability to hit balls on the rise, which allowed her to take time away from other players who were bigger or stronger than she was. Yonex has also made it a core part of its brand to support up-and-coming junior players, both in Japan and around the world. In recent years, a number of top-ranking players on the men's tour are also using Yonex rackets. The best known among them is Stan Wawrinka, who endorses the VCORE PRO 97. Another is Nick Kyrgios, who endorses the EZONE 98. The latter is also used by Naomi Osaka. Another Yonex player on the women's tour is Angelique Kerber, who endorses the VCORE 100. Yonex also has a great lineup of junior rackets for beginners and intermediate players. The brand's rackets have a distinctive trapezoidal frame, isometric technology, that enlarges the sweet spot. They handle well and can be easily swung through the air, and are especially popular with female players. Footnote 6. Isometric technology is Yonex's signature racket technology. The square head shape means that more main strings, vertical strings, are long enough to intersect with cross strings, creating a sweet spot that is 7% larger than that of a regular oval-shaped racket head. This gives the player more control without loss of power. 3. EZONE 98. The 305-gram EZONE 98 is not as stable as other heavier rackets, but it has superior response and handling. It has a large sweet spot and offers great control, making it the perfect weapon for players who take big swings at the ball. This racket is why Nick Kyrgios is able to generate such easy power with minimal effort, and why Naomi Osaka is able to dominate her opponents with power tennis. Belinda Bencic, who defeated rival Naomi Osaka 3 times in 2019, uses the EZONE 100, which has a slightly larger racket head. Footnote 7. Nick Kyrgios is an Australian professional tennis player. He possesses a powerful serve and a penchant for hitting tweeners, between the legs shots, just for show. He is known for his athleticism, but is held back by his short temper, frequently clashing with umpires, breaking rackets, and putting in zero effort when he no longer cares about a match, or perhaps because he cares too much. Footnote 8. Naomi Osaka is a Japanese professional tennis player. She was born in the city of Osaka in Osaka Prefecture to a Haitian father and Japanese mother, and was raised in the U.S. She made her breakthrough on the pro circuit in 2018 when she won the Masters 1000 tournament Indian Wells, and followed it up by winning the U.S. Open the same year, her first Grand Slam championship, and then the Australian Open in 2019. She is the first Asian world number 1 in the history of the sport, both men and women. Footnote 9. Belinda Bencic is a Swiss pro tennis player. In her formative years as a player, she was under the guidance of the mother of Swiss former number 1 Martina Hingis. While Osaka is an aggressive baseliner known for her powerful ground strokes, Bencic is a counterpuncher who redirects her opponent's momentum to her advantage. 4. VCORE 100. VCORE 95. Angelique Kerber endorses the VCORE 100, a racket that imparts a powerful spin on the ball. It pairs well with the Yonex Poly Tour Fire string. The racket also features an aerodynamic design that reduces the friction on the inside of the frame as it passes through the air, so that the player can accelerate into their swing. That, in turn, allows skilled baseliners to hit precise shots that drop just inside the court. Canadian next-gen player Denis Shapovalov endorses the VCORE 95, which has a smaller racket head than the VCORE 100. The racket has a flexible frame that lacks power but is a formidable weapon in the hands of a player like Shapovalov, who has large, pronounced strokes. Footnote 10. Angelique Kerber is a German professional tennis player. She won singles titles at the 2016 Australian Open and US Open, as well as the 2018 Wimbledon Championships, and attained the world number 1 ranking. She is a counterpuncher known for bending low as she swings into her shots, sometimes so low that her knee touches the ground. Footnote 11. Professional tennis players endorse certain rackets but actually use rackets that have specs that are significantly different from the models that are commercially available. Footnote 11. Denis Shapovalov is an Israeli-born Canadian professional tennis player. He plays left-handed and has a single-handed backhand. He is known for his graceful jumping backhands. 5. VCORE PRO 97, 330 grams. This Yonex racket, that doesn't feel like a traditional Yonex racket, was designed for heavy hitter Stan Wawrinka. The 330-gram version, which is not available in Japan, is a monster of a weapon that is best handled by players who are able to consistently crush the ball. For players with a proper swing, this racket also offers great feel and control. The VCORE PRO 97, 310 grams, which is 20 grams lighter, doesn't give you the kind of heavy ball that you can get off its big brother, but it is easier to handle. It is endorsed by players like South Korean player Chung Hyun and American player Francis Tiafoe. Footnote 13. Stan Wawrinka is a Swiss professional tennis player. He's known as a baseline player with thunderous ground strokes off both wings, but his biggest weapon is his single-handed backhand, especially when hit cross-court to take his opponent way outside the sidelines. He won the Australian Open in 2014, then the French Open in 2015, and the US Open in 2016. He has tattooed the following Samuel Beckett quote on his left arm: "Ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail again, fail better." Footnote 14. Chung Hyun is a South Korean professional tennis player. He won the inaugural Next Generation ATP Finals, a season-ending tournament that started in 2017 for the best 21 and under players of the season. He is the first South Korean player to advance to the semifinals of a Grand Slam. He is known for wearing white-framed Oakley glasses on court. Footnote 15. Francis Tiafoe is an American professional tennis player. He is the son of Sierra Leonean immigrants. His father worked as the head of maintenance at the Junior Tennis Champions Center in Maryland. Tiafoe began hitting balls against the wall when he was 3, and later began training at the center. 6. Yonex string recommendations. Yonex also has a reputation for its strings. Its lineup includes strings suited for players of all levels, from beginners to pros. The Aeron Super 850 is a multi-filament that is a good choice for beginners, intermediate, and experienced players. It is very soft on the arm, great for players with wrist or elbow trouble. Footnote 16. Multi-filament strings, multis, are a type of nylon string that is composed of a number of smaller strands woven together. They have a natural gut-like feel when you make contact with the ball. The PolyTour Pro 120 is one of the softest polyester strings out there, and is a great choice for high school or intercollegiate players who are serious about their training. The cool color doesn't hurt either. Nick Kyrgios uses the 120, while Naomi Osaka uses the 125. Footnote 17. Polys are single-structure polyester strings. They are good at imparting spin on the ball, and there are also polys that are especially durable. They have a range of characteristics. For those who like to play with a lot of spin, I recommend the Cobalt Blue PolyTour Spin 120. For players who are skilled at crushing the ball with the sweet spot of the racket, I recommend the PolyTour Fire 120, which is used by Angelique Kerber. This string also works in a hybrid setup with the Versus Touch Natural Gut from Babolat. 7. Epilogue. Going through the roster of players who use Yonex rackets, it becomes clear how the brand has made it a core part of their long-term business strategy to cultivate young, up-and-coming talent. From tennis prodigies like Monica Seles and Martina Hingis, and influential Japanese players like Date Kimiko, to players like Belinda Bencic and Naomi Osaka, Yonex has built trust in its brand by supporting these players from a young age. In Osaka's case, Yonex has supported her since she was about 10 years old. When she was training in Florida, her mother sent a letter to then company president Yoneyama Tsutomu. The name Yonex is an abbreviation of Yoneyama, asking for support in terms of equipment and gear. A representative from the company's U.S. branch went to see Osaka play in a tournament, saw potential in her raw power, and the rest is history. In 2018, Osaka would win the U.S. Open, and follow it up by winning the Australian Open and achieving the world #1 ranking in January 2019. To commemorate her achievements, Yonex released a special limited edition gold version of the EZONE 98 this past fall. Since 2011, Yonex has also hosted Yonex Vamos J, a training camp focused on helping young players establish the foundation for a successful career in tennis. In recent years, the camp has been held not only in Japan, but also in the US, Germany, the UK, China, and Thailand. It's not hard to see those young players becoming lifelong fans of the unique look and feel of Yonex rackets. Sports and Culture 8. On Tennis Racket Makers 4. Yonex, Made in Japan Excellence. www.digtokyo.jp